Got this word from Nick Underhill on Twitter today that Kiko Alonso apparently is a full go. He is on his timeline puts him on pace to return in time for camp. So we already knew that about Sheldon Rankins and Marcus Davenport, Alex Anzalone, guys who had season-ending injuries. But really good news there that looks like Kiko Alonso is on target to return for the start of Saints training camp later this month. We have talked a lot about what the Saints offseason is going to look like and what camp battles are going to look like. And overwhelmingly, my sense talking to you is that you all care very deeply about the wide receiver position. Around the draft, everyone wanted the Saints to draft another wide receiver. In free agency, a lot of people thought the Saints might go grab a wide receiver. There's been a lot of conversation also about Antonio Brown and other wide receivers that have been available, and I just don't care. I shouldn't say I don't care, but my feeling is, like we've talked about, the Saints offense has always churned in many respects with Drew Brees throwing the ball to undrafted rookie free agents. I mean, until, I've thrown this stat out a bunch, but until Mike Thomas came along, Drew Brees never had a wide receiver go to the Pro Bowl. Jimmy Graham made a Pro Bowl as a tight end, but as a receiver, Marcus Colston never made a Pro Bowl. Lance Moore never made a Pro Bowl. Drew Brees, until Mike Thomas, never had a receiver go to the Pro Bowl. So, in some respects, I hate to ask Mike Thomas to go have the greatest season in the history of the NFL for a receiver again, but I know they've got pass catchers. I know you've got Mike Thomas in place. I know Alvin Kamara has caught 80 balls each of his 3 years in the NFL. Jared Cook, when healthy and right, is a really good pass-catching option as well. And look, they went and got Emmanuel Sanders in free agency. They went and got Ty Montgomery. There's Marquez Callaway. There's Emmanuel Butler, who flashed last year and then fizzled. Little Jordan Humphrey still hanging around. Can Deontay Harris be a receiver? They have pass catchers. I know Adam Troutman. I know the Saints are going to figure that out. They've got pass catchers. I'm not worried about that. I'm more concerned about linebacker. I think the Saints are stacked on defensive line. If they're healthy, they're awesome. I think in the secondary, you've got 2 legit number 1 corners. I think you're really good at safety as well. I think defensively you're loaded. And you have an all-pro linebacker in Demario Davis. But your other linebacker, because the Saints primarily use 2 linebackers and then an extra defensive back, your other linebacker is the giant question. Now, when Kiko Alonso's healthy, he's been a really good pro. He's been in the NFL for 7 seasons. Now, he missed all of 2014, so that's just 6 seasons that he's played. But in Kiko Alonso's career, every time he has played either 15 or 16 games, either a full season or missed just 1 game, he's had at least 100 tackles. When he's been healthy, he's been really good. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year for the Bills. When healthy, Alonso's been good. The trick has been the when healthy. Now, he played 13 games last year, and in 13 games, had just 31 tackles. He took a serious back seat last year. But this gets a little more complex because A.J. Klein's gone in free agency, and you don't know if Alex Anzalone is going to be healthy either. Anzalone's the other interesting question. He spent his entire career at Florida hurt. He's had 3 NFL seasons, 2 of them cut short by injuries. His rookie year played in 4 games. This past year, he played in 2 games. His second year in 2018, the only season he was healthy, and played a full 16 games, Alex Anzalone had 60 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and a backup role. I can get down with that guy in a full 16-game schedule as a starter opposite to Mario Davis with that kind of production. You have 200 tackle linebackers on your team if Alex Anzalone's healthy. And then the wild card is Zach Bond. We've seen the Saints try guys like this before. I mean, the Haoli Kikaha experiment was basically Zach Bond, the guy that's not big enough to be a 4-3 defensive end, but doesn't really fit as an inside backer as well. But he gives you pressure off the edge. What do you do with him? I'll be fascinated to see what kind of role they carve out for Zach Bond because he's going to make this team. I know a lot of people bring up Joe Bocci as well, the undrafted rookie free agent on Michigan State, but I'll have to see it to believe it. I think roster spots are going to be at a premium. Hopefully they can stash him on the practice squad, but I don't know if he makes the team. If he does, great. That'll be a wonderful surprise. But for me, the biggest question on a team where your roster is so solidified, where you've got so many established players and veterans where you're going into camp without a ton of questions. The one you have is, DeMario Davis is an all-pro linebacker. Who's going to be standing next to him, for 60 snaps a game? And I don't know the answer to that. I think it's going to be Kiko Alonso or Alex Anzalone or Zach Bond. And I think any one of those at their max potential could be 100-tackle guys and really good NFL linebackers. But we've also seen that two of those guys can't stay healthy. And A.J. Klein now is not there as well, as he's left in free agency. So one of them has to step up. Who is it? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I think because Alonso played in 13 games last year and was still in a minimal role, I think, and they brought him back on a reduced contract where the terms of his deal this year are basically bargain basement, but he's rewarded for the number of snaps he plays, and then he's got escalators in his contract. If he hits 10 games, 12 games, 14 games, he's got escalators in his deal. Basically, the more you play, the more you make. Okay, I'm good with that. And he was apparently good with that as well. Chance to be on a winner. But I also saw him playing 13 games last year, and for the first time playing that many games, that was the least production he had because he's in a backup role. I think the Saints would be very willing to see if Alex Anzalone can capitalize finally on the draft capital they invested in him. Or maybe they look at Zach Bond and go, come on, young, it's your turn. But that, for me, going into camp, single biggest question. And the second isn't even receiver. It's, does Cesar Ruiz become your starting center? Or is it, do you stick with McCoy and does Easton start at one of the guards and Ruiz is a backup? I don't know. But that's the second biggest question to me. And then way, way down the list is who's the number 3 wide receiver? Because they're just going to figure that out. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.